Okay, so we've got an amazing show ahead of us tonight. We've got Jordan Peterson sitting down with my very own fishing buddy, Chris Williamson, and they're talking about my other fishing buddy, Douglas Murray. We've got a little clip of an interview with Cliff Richard, which I think you're all going to really enjoy, and of course, some classic Harry and Meghan today. Some really good stuff. So let's just get into it, I guess.
What have you learned since being friends with Douglas? How's he impacted you or influenced you?
Well, Douglas is very, very disagreeable.
If nothing else, Jordan Peterson, he keeps you on your toes, doesn't he? Everyone's expecting, Douglas is really strong, he's really brave, he's really disagreeable. I know he means like in the psychological sense or whatever. Not that he's a shit person, that he won't bend easily. I wonder what Jordan's been trying to convince him to do that he's been so disagreeable about. Probably trying to baptize him in one of the Great Lakes. Hey, go on, demons! That'll cure him.
And he enjoys combat.
Oh, I bet he loves combat.
I can't tell you the amount of times I've found him backstage with some of the young men that come to our events, rolling around all over the changing room floors, practicing Greco-Roman wrestling. It's like, he's a really enthusiastic teacher.
That's pathetic. Imagine if the intellectual dark web heard you saying this. Imagine if anyone heard you saying this.
And that isn't something that really characterizes. I don't enjoy combat at all. I mean, part of the reason that it's perverse, I suppose, in some ways. Part of the reason that I will engage in difficult conversations is because I don't want to have them forever.
Look, I am not, nor do I intend to become some kind of self-help guru. I'm not selling out arenas. I'm not some fancy life coach, right? But have you tried, instead of having all these difficult conversations all the time, it gets a bit heavy, have you tried masking everything with snarky sarcasm and, sort of snidey comments and, just humour all the time? And then when, inevitably the shit does hit the fan from time to time, you just flip the fuck out, right? And everyone just gets all scared of you and doesn't know how, they don't know where they stand with you. It's worked for me so far.
And so, one of the rules I had in my marriage, and it was a rule that my wife also was pleased to follow, was that if we have a problem, we're going to deal with it right now.
Look, I love Jordan Peterson and his entire beautiful family. God bless them, okay? But it does sound like the Peterson household was pretty fucking intense.
In this house, we deal with our problems right away. I'm your father. You have to rescue me from the belly of the whale. I'm in the belly.
And we're going to deal with it right to the bottom.
Anyway, I could go on with Jordan Peterson. I could make videos about Jordan Peterson all day. He's just brilliant material, isn't he? Let's move on, shall we? Cliff Richard, he's dead. No, he isn't. But he's going to wish he was after I've done with him. No, I'm only joking. But after the clip we're about to see, if he was a younger man, he'd probably feel some slight sense of embarrassment from this clip. But I guess when you're 84 or whatever he is, who cares?
I love it.
Did you ever meet Elvis?
Oh, no, I did not. I had one chance through a journalist when I was promoting Devil Woman in the States.
Yeah.
He said, I know Elvis, because he knew that I was influenced. And he said, would you want to meet him? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, would you want to meet him? I said, yeah. At the end of the interview, though, I said, can we put it off? Because he'd put on a lot of weight.
Oh, right.
And
I can't get over how mad that is. That not that Cliff Richard thought that, which is one thing. That he thinks, I don't fancy a photo with Elvis. He's put on a lot of weight. That's insane enough. But what really gets me is that he thinks people will understand when he says that. He says, you see, he put on a lot of weight. So he's expecting everyone to go, I see. In fact, Sarah Ferguson She actually does go, oh, I see, yes.
He'd put on a lot of weight.
Oh, right.
And I thought, if I'm having a photograph taken with him and it's going to be hanging on my refrigerator, he's got to look good.
Every time I rewatch it, it gets funnier. He sounds like he's still angry about the fact that Elvis was fat.
And I thought, if I'm having a photograph taken with him and it's going to be hanging on my refrigerator, he's got to look good.
It's mad the way he then looks over at the hosts and sort of, I don't know, expects them to nod in approval. Like, yeah, what? Of course, you don't want a photo of fat Elvis on your fridge. It'd put you off your food, the fat fuck.
And I put it off, and of course, then he died.
This interview is mental. It's like a scene from Extras. You've got Cliff Richard, 83 years old, sat there explaining how, and completely earnestly, you know, he's not trying to be funny or shocking or anything. He seems to think that the real tragedy of Elvis's death is the fact that he never got to take his photo with him. Then you've got Sarah Ferguson, who it's after 9 a.m, God knows what state she's in. On the other end of the sofa, you've got Alison, listening to how Cliff Richard didn't even want to have his photo taken with Elvis when he put on a few pounds. He must be feeling physically sick looking at her. And she knows that, so I guess the only person thinking rationally there is Dermot O'Leary. Probably got the producer in his ear. Get that fucking dinosaur out of here now. Wrap it up! It's a question of time before he says something racist.
Should never have put it off just because they're a little bit heavier.
No.
If anybody has got, if you're a fan of somebody's, you should, if you get the chance to meet them, meet them, even if they've put on weight.
Is that why you don't want me at your house? Anyway, right. OK, so...
No, it's because you're black. Meghan Markle pays a repeat visit to climate change group in Vancouver to have a heartfelt conversation about women's leadership and poverty in Canada. Oh, to be a fly on the wall of that heartfelt conversation. It's a tall order, Meghan. Women's leadership and poverty being addressed in just one heartfelt conversation. But as Jordan Peterson always says, take on as much responsibility as you can. I'm sure you're going to do a great job with those Indigenous people. Because I imagine that's who she's going to talk to, right? About poverty and women's leadership. The Inuits. Far too few female-led seal clubbing expeditions, if you ask me. You just expect them to sit at home all day in the teepee preparing the blubber. Well, no more! Ah, no, she's talking to some posh twats about poverty and female leadership. The Duchess of Sussex, 42, visited the Justice for Girls group to discuss girls and young women's leadership and have a heartfelt conversation about justice and equality for teen girls living in poverty in Canada. Oh, no wonder those girls' communities are poor. They don't look like they've got a day's ice fishing experience between the lot of them. She first visited the group in January 2020, just days after she and Prince Harry sensationally announced, and it was sensational, their plans to leave the royal family, opting for £1,349 Ralph Lauren Charmaine silk wide-legged trousers, which she previously wore to Wimbledon. Meow. Yeah, you're very clever there, Daily Mail. Very snarky, mentioning the price of Meghan's trousers, £1,300. But at least she didn't buy a new pair of trousers. She was being very considerate of these poor Inuit girls, right? She just threw on these old things that she wore to Wimbledon. So she wore her old, tattered, grass-stained rags from Wimbledon for this event because she's, after all, she's going there to talk to them about poverty and women's leadership. I just hope that they don't see that as her saying you need to economise your wardrobe like I do. Because they're already going to think she's a little bit holier than thou, telling them that they're a bit too comfortable in their teepees, that they need to get out there and help the men, right? They need to grab the bull by the horns, these young women, these young First Nation women in Canada, or rather, should I say, grab the seal by the scruff of its fat neck and bludgeon it to death. Okay, help the guys out. So she's already making them feel a bit bad. I mean, if now she's going to lecture them about buying too many clothes, they need to economise, right? Just because the price of whale oil has gone up recently and they've got a bit extra to spend. Make hay while the sun shines. Batter seals while the, I don't know, when would tides in or something, I don't know.
A white jumper and £46 edge of ember wave earrings, the royal looked at ease as she chatted to women of the charity. She added her favourite Cartier Love yellow gold bracelet priced at £7,050, Princess Diana's gold Tank Française watch, and her £15,000 Lorraine Schwartz Against Evil Eye bracelet.
She clearly knows how to not be in poverty, so I'd say she's the perfect woman for this event.
Taking to Instagram after the visit, Justice for Girls wrote, Justice for Girls was delighted to have a return visit from Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex.
And who wouldn't be?
Joined by Jessica Lake and Laurie Thompson from the late family's All One Fund, we had an engaging and heartfelt conversation about justice and equality for teen girls living in poverty in Canada and around the world.
Well, I'm glad that's over. That sounds like a heavy afternoon's work, solving the problem of equality and justice for teen girls living in poverty in Canada and around the world. But I guess they solved it. They cracked it. We can sleep easy tonight. There's one less problem in the world.
Together with our teen interns, staff, directors and board members, we talked about Justice for Girls' decades of work advocating for girls' access to education, freedom from violence, Indigenous rights and environmental justice.
Now, don't get me wrong. Hear me out, okay? And you can point out in the comments where I'm going wrong. This is the problem I have with charities, okay? I feel like there will never be a day when a charity turns around and goes, you know what, guys, we did it. Let's just tear everything down. This organisation serves no purpose anymore. Every girl in every nation of the world has her own ice fishing rod. It's over, guys, right? Environmental justice for all has been achieved. That's the only thing I've got against charities, It's kind of as though they are dependent on us forever thinking that the world is on fire.
A highlight of our conversation was the focus on girls and young women's leadership.
That was one of the two talking points, so I'm guessing it was a highlight, yeah.
A feminist advocate from a young age herself, the Duchess was keen to talk to two of our interns to discuss their personal struggles for justice.
Ooh, tell me more. What did they talk about? I'm really interested.
Their appearance comes as the Duchess cheered Prince Harry on as he dropped the first puck at an NHL hockey game.
Yeah, but what about the conversation with the two girls?
California-based couple watched the Vancouver Canucks beat the San Jose Sharks 3-1 from a VIP box at the Rogers Arena, at one point watching the action while cuddling, and later jumping in the air to cheer a goal.
But what about...
When the Canucks won the match, Harry leapt up and Meghan put down her wine glass so they could both dance to celebrate the victory as Simple Minds hit Don't You Forget About Me. Played, I guess.
They live in California. Meghan was born and raised there. Surely they'd want San Jose. Never mind, I guess. It's not important. I guess the more I kind of try...